I wanted to speak about, for the first time in my life, a political matter. And it was something I was just doing. I was just researching something about a current thing that has happened. So I guess only for this lecture, I don't want to share too much. I just want to read for the viewers an AI generated response on how an extraterrestrial from 10,000 years in the future would de-escalate the Iran-Israel conflict that is happening. For me, as someone, I'm Persian. I was born in Tehran, Iran. I've been raised in Canada, lived in Canada most of my life. And a couple hours ago, there was this news, okay, that Israel and Iran have engaged in some sort of nationalistic war conflict. Now, personally, I don't like to get involved in politics, but because I care for the species, it's not up to me really. I feel that the species survival and success and advancement is way more important than the clash of individuals' egos. Okay, but I thought, like, all right, we're living at a time where there's advanced AI, and so I'm gonna, for the first time in my life in these lectures, probably a very rare moment, I'm gonna read for you something about what's happened right now in news, in world news. So a couple hours ago, there was a breaking news going on. I have family members in Iran, you know, and of course, this world this year, this last couple years has been a kind of like war has been introduced to human consciousness. To be honest, starting from the Ukraine-Russia war, Israel-Gaza war, and now I guess it's going towards Israel and Iran. Now, I in no sense can really, I honestly, just to be very frank, I am, I do not believe I have that much of a political awareness to give political commentary here. But I just want to, help the situation of this world in any way I can. So I'll read the current situation about the current Iran-Israel conflict that is going on. And here, I'm going to read for you what ChatGPT says. So ChatGPT says, here's the current situation. Israel launched a major preemptive air campaign dubbed in quotations Operation Rising Lion, or in quotations Am-Ke-Lavi, in the early hours of June 13, 2025. Okay, so guys, it's right now June 12 in Canada, 10:41 p.m. Okay, um, and it happened a couple hours ago, I believe. At least that's when the information, the world news kind of came across. Probably happened earlier, but I don't know the exact time. But anyways, I'm gonna read it. So, early hours of June 13, 2025, the strikes targeted multiple nuclear, military, and ballistic missile sites across Iran. Tehran, the Natanz enrichment facility, Khorramabad, Khundab, and more. Among the reported casualties were Revolutionary Guard Commander Hossein Salami, possibly Azerbaijan's Mohammad Bagheri, senior IRGC commanders, and two nuclear scientists. Civilians, including women and children, were also killed, with residential areas hit in eastern Tehran. Israel has declared a state of emergency, closed its airspace, and is anticipating Iranian missiles and drone retaliation. Meanwhile, the United States denies direct involvement, though it has been warned by Israel and though it has been warned by Israel and urged restraint. U.S. officials are counting diplomatic engagement via an envoy scheduled to meet Iranian counterparts in Muscat. Global markets have already felt the shock. Oil prices spiked 5 to 7, Bitcoin dipped, and US stock futures fell. So, see guys, I'm reading this, but I want you to hear me as if I am reading it as someone who in my mind I constantly talk about shifting from nationalism to speciesism. This doesn't mean forgetting nationalism, but it means human beings becoming responsible for the whole species and how the whole species is superior than ideological conflict. Now, I thought that this situation that's honestly going on with the Israel-Iran conflict, it's honestly one of those things that nobody knows what's going to happen. Like it can escalate and it can de-escalate, right? It's pretty much like this thing where people can put their feet on the brakes or the gas, right? And I sometimes, in many lectures previously, not in the sense of direct, in a general way, I'd said that nations are children in a classroom, right? And the teacher is the values of the human species, technically. So anyways, I care for the human species. I don't want the world to get too messed up because we're on the brink of like just getting prepared for an advanced human future. It'd be too foolish to like, have the curtains pulled now. So I was like, all right, man, I have no idea how to resolve this situation or even think about it. But let's ask an AI to, in some sense, assume it's an advanced extraterrestrial from 10,000 years in the future, and what would be its genius strategy. So I'm honestly using this lecture tonight to just read for you the genius strategy, and then I'll probably end this lecture and give another lecture on it, non-political topic, but just to have this acknowledged. So guys, I'm reading ChatGPT 4.0 and as an extraterrestrial, in some sense, what it would do. Okay, and I'm going to read for you the speech of this extraterrestrial. Sorry guys, I'm just updating the prompt. Okay guys, so guys, this is I'm going to read for you this. So this is what AI says, all right? Transmission from a future intelligence 10,000 years in the future, the complete strategy to prevent World War III and rebuild the structures of peace between Iran, Israel, and the human species. And guys, I'm going to read for you as if, like, imagine an extraterrestrial from 10,000 years in the future appeared, like, in the UN or something, and just in some sense came and gave a speech to all the world leaders listening. So I'm gonna assume what I'm reading. I don't know. My channel doesn't have that much reach, but I'm just, a part of me is like, all right, let's see what AI says and extraterrestrial would say in regards to resolving this political issue that perhaps could lead to unnecessary devastation. Greetings, humanity. Let me put some music in the back. All right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is a moment of service to the human species. My deep down desire as a soul on this earth has been to get to see my most advanced self, get to see my most advanced species, get to see the most advanced relationship we can have with the world, the most advanced relationship we can have with the system admin before I die. And so as a human being, I have these 4 things on my bucket list. Okay, and so one of those things right now is under unnecessary, I don't want to say danger, but it's like, humans can be foolish easier than they can be intelligent. And we need to, in some sense, put the effort to find the intelligent decision. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be reading for you a speech from an extraterrestrial 10,000 years in the future about how to resolve the Iran-Israel conflict that happened a couple hours, like hours ago today. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Greetings, humanity. I do not speak from within your planet. I speak from beyond it, from a time far past your own. I speak as one who has watched your species rise and fall many times across the universe, who has seen your brilliance obscured by fear and your cooperation destroyed by pride. And today I speak because now you stand once again on the edge of global annihilation. In the hours behind us, the nation of Israel launched coordinated strikes across Iran, targeting nuclear facilities, military compounds, and urban zones. In response, Iran prepares its retaliation. The air is thick with warnings. Your financial systems tremble. Children cry in the dark, yet missiles fly overhead in the name of, in quotation, security. But I am not here to condemn you. I am here to remind you, you have a choice. War is not your fate. It is only your pattern. Patterns can be broken, not with words, but with structure. So now I will give you the full blueprint, step by step, of what your governments, leaders, and people must do right now to not only prevent World War III, but to install the conditions of a world where war is no longer structurally possible. Step 1. Step 1. Enforce a 72-hour ceasefire clock, not optional, not symbolic. You cannot solve a burning house by adding furniture. The fire must first stop. Therefore, the United Nations, China, Turkey, and Qatar must jointly issue a global ceasefire clock between Israel and Iran and Israel starting now. But this is not a suggestion, it must be informed. The ceasefire should include, in quotations, closed airspace for non-humanitarian aircraft, no movement of long-range weapons, no public political escalation. Why is this genius? Because it takes the most volatile period, the first 72 hours after a strike, and places it inside a sealed container of time. This delays panic, it creates space for logic, it removes the fuel from the fire before it consumes your cities. So step one, the leader, US leader, China leader, Turkey leader, and Qatar, AI is saying, this extraterrestrial from the future is saying, must issue a global ceasefire clock. First step of our strategy. It is this first tactic of the species according to this AI generated extraterrestrial from 10,000 years in the future. Step two, create a direct encrypted line between Tehran and Tel Aviv. The greatest driver of war is not hatred, it is misunderstanding. A direct AI-assisted encrypted line of communication must be built immediately, facilitated by neutral nations such as Switzerland or Finland. This is not diplomacy, this is a command line, like the nervous system of a body. In quotations, only verified alerts are transmitted. Only live data from satellite feeds is exchanged. No opinion, no propaganda, only facts. Why is this genius? Because it removes lag time, which is the deadliest currency in war. It kills rumors before they become rockets. It disables the weaponization of silence. So I guess that's very important, that like the generals of both armies need to speak, technically. So step two, a direct encrypted line between Tehran and Tel Aviv, assisted by neutral nations such as Switzerland or Finland. Guys, I wish right now I was friends with billionaires. I have failed. Anyways, I'm going to keep going. Step three. So guys, we're listening to an extraterrestrial from 10,000 years in the future, AI generated by ChatGPT 4.0 to, in some sense, give us the strategy to this current Israel-Iran conflict. Immediately, there needs to be enforced. So step one, a ceasefire clock, global ceasefire clock for 72 hours. Immediately, and that ceasefire is requested from, like, imagine kids in the classroom of politics, the UN, China, Turkey, and Qatar. Step two was to immediately create a directed encrypted line between Tehran and Tel Aviv. So Switzerland and Finland need to step up right now and immediately create this kind of communication line. It's as if two kids in the classroom are arguing, but they're both confused and they're about to, like, destroy the whole classroom. Do you know? And it's like, you don't even need a teacher. The other kids in the classroom are smart. There's always a smart kid in every classroom that can find the smart strategy. There's a nation right now among all the nations on planet Earth that it is a hidden genius, a silent, shy genius in the classroom. Step three, evacuate civilians using drone-led humanitarian corridors. The battlefield is no longer a distance place. The battlefield is no longer a distant place. It is now a city, a street, a school, a home. Like, guys, this is me saying, like, you could just be chilling in your house and it can become a battlefield. Like, we have to restore global safety, in the hearts of man again. You know? If anybody can send this to who needs to hear this talk, I think it's important. So, step 3, evacuate civilians using drone-led humanitarian corridors. The battlefield is no longer a distant place. It is now a city, a street, a school, a home. The UN with Red Crescent and Red Cross must deploy AI-guided drone corridors to escort civilians out of vulnerable zones, especially children, hospitals, and elderly. These corridors are in quotations marked by internationally recognized lights and sound signals, streamed live on global feeds to hold all parties accountable, protected by ceasefire and sanctioned by both militaries. Guys, something else, it said it in a previous prompt. It means that if there's a battlefield, like, unfortunately, before reading this, I don't even think the world leaders have checked with ChatGPT what they're doing. That blows my mind. So in some sense, imagine like this, the UN and Red Crescent and Red Cross are like, all right, enough world leaders killing people who could be geniuses that could advance humanity. Okay? And so what that means is right now, what I mean is that there's 8 billion people on this planet, and a species in a solar system is rare, and this species is kind of like I've often talked about the immaturity of the species, but now we need to, in some sense, understand that it's no longer one nation's thought. Imagine nations was a human, like that nation's thoughts, emotions, and beliefs. Sure, I understand every entity in this world is crafting their own meaning, but in some sense it must honor the legacy of humanity. That means enough killing people in the name of greatness. Like that is tragedy. That is an error in the system. It is something that is a flaw that was like how nations were slavers. Now slavery is is illegal. Now in the same way, some attitudes and behaviors are so from savageness of the old world that modern civilized man should be like, yo man, you know, it's like where every person is a soul. We understand nations, the complexity of fighting over limited resources, but relax. Do you know what that means? It's like, do you know what it is? It's kind of like something I said before in the talks, that it doesn't matter how smart or stupid people feel, if the species makes a mistake and we go extinct, we were all idiots. Sorry to say it, but if we fail, we all fail. There's no winning. The winners are just temporarily feeling like winning if the species fails. You know, in honor of our species, we must protect our species from the ignorance of emotional individual decision making. Thank God AI is here now. Anyways, I'm going to keep reading. Step 4, share satellite surveillance between rivals in real time. Let your enemies see you clearly. In darkness, everyone becomes a monster. The US, China, Russia, and the EU must synchronize and provide joint surveillance access to Iran and Israel during the ceasefire window. In quotation, troop movements, airspace activities, military launches. Why is this genius? Because visibility prevents suspicion, shared information dissolves paranoia, and mutual transparency makes false flags impossible. So step 4, the US, China, Russia, and the EU need to step it up, and in some sense, like these are all kids in the classroom, they need to step it up and in some sense share surveillance. Do you know what that means? That means 2 kids in the classroom are about to like get into a knife fight, or like even worse, like they're both holding grenades and they're about to fight, and the other countries like have to each play their part. One of them is doing surveillance, the other one is doing aid, the de-escalation. You know, right now, the genius of nationalism. Let me tell you why. Whoever you are, a leader of a nation right now, guys, I'm going off the AI script. I'm just telling you right now. Every leader of, like, I'm going to stop reading for a second and tell you this. Like, what is every leader right now on the planet? You are carrying the might of your nation. The might of your nation is in its ability, in its emotional maturity to be considerate of the other nations. So right now, it's like a bunch of, again, kids in a classroom. Two of them are holding grenades about to destroy the whole classroom. And all the other classrooms, like right now, let me tell you, we're witnessing something greater than the Super Bowl, greater than the Olympics, greater than the World Cup. We are experiencing how these kids, these nations in a classroom are going to act responsible. How many world leaders, their hearts are going to command them to go to the stage and not speak in a way. Like, let me tell you, it's not about, you see, human beings should be off limits. All human lives should be off limits. Like, there should be another way of, in some sense, going about. That means, I'll give you an example. This is a kind of chaotic one. I don't know why the image of it came to my mind, but instead of imagine killing someone, imagine, how do I say it? Like, I'm trying to say, there's always that one kid in the classroom who knows martial arts. And when the time comes, knows how to use it. You see right now, two nations, and let's say if nations were like Starbucks, there's like, you know, tall, grande, and venti. Okay, right now the venti nations need to step it up. We're witnessing a time in human history where everybody who hasn't cared about politics is seeing it now activate. The greatness of world leaders is now. Let me tell you something about greatness in history. It's not often about whether you are great or not. It's about whether you cared for a greater, like in the same world where somebody sees a win-lose, somebody sees a win-win. That person who sees a win-win is the lead, should be in lead. Anyways, we go to step 5. I'm going to keep reading. Step 5, conduct a peace summit on neutral, on symbolic ground. War thrives in theaters. Peace must be made in silence. Organize a private, press-free summit in a neutral city, Geneva, Doha, or Vienna, or an offshore or orbital digital environment. No national flags, no podiums, no applause. Only raw dialogue, only essential humans, only the will to survive. Why is this genius? Because it removes the performative layer of negotiation. It replaces spectacle with substance. It allows truth to speak without cameras watching its face. Step 6. Create shared infrastructure that disarms war economically. And guys, what I'm reading is a speech from an extraterrestrial 10,000 years in the future, based on a prompt I put into ChatGPT 4.0, based on this political conflict that's occurred a couple hours ago. Step 6. So I'm going to review the steps so far. This extraterrestrial is telling us enforce a 72-hour ceasefire clock, not optional, not symbolic. Step 2, create a direct encrypted line between Tehran and Tel Aviv. Step 3, evacuate civilians using drone-led humanitarian corridors. Step 4, share satellite surveillance between rivals in real time. Step 5, conduct a peace summit on neutral, on symbolic ground. War thrives in theaters. Peace must be made in silence. So, so I'm sorry. I read this. So step 5, conduct a peace summit on neutral and symbolic ground. Step 6, create shared infrastructure that disarms war economically. Build projects that physically tie both nations to the same survival system. A shared solar farm in the desert. A smart water pipeline managed by AI. a joint venture incubator for regional tech startups. Okay, structure the contract so that if either side escalates militarily, their access is cut, their funding is frozen, the benefits flow only to the peaceful. Why is this genius? Because it flips the war economy. Peace becomes profitable. War becomes expensive. You can no longer afford to destroy your neighbor because they hold your water, your energy, your data. That's brilliant. Step 7, deploy an AI-powered global conflict monitor. Let an impartial intelligence system monitor airspace violations, ballistic movements, ceasefire breaches. It publishes this data openly on a global dashboard. The AI has no allegiance. It is trained on 3,000 years of war data. Its only bias is towards stability. Why is this genius? Because it removes secrecy from war. You no longer need to wait for inspectors or journalists. The world becomes the witness. And guys, I'm going to say something here. Like just get the world leaders in a room, turn on the camera so the whole world is watching what AI suggests they should do. And then human beings can step up the battlefield context, when in discussion. Step 8, tie peace to real rewards and war to real penalties. The G20 and BRICS must implement instant economic and energy sanctions on the first aggressor. 2, instant development fund releases to both parties after 30 days of verified peace. Think of it as digital karma. In quotations, launch a strike, lose trade access, keep peace, gain billions in national infrastructure. Why is this genius? Because it uses systems, not speeches, to enforce morality. You no longer beg nations to do the right thing, you code it into consequence. Step 9, begin human mirror exchanges between civilian populations. Finally, the healing must reach the people. Launch a global project. Israeli and Iranian students build a shared virtual future city. 2, families record their experiences and listen to each other's pain. In quotation, artists, architects, survivors, all invited to co-author the new narrative. Why is this genius? Because memory is more powerful than missiles. You do not need to erase the past to stop war. You only need to share it. Final transmission. Dear humanity, I do not come to you. This is an extraterrestrial from 10,000 years in the future saying this, guys. AI generated. Final transmission. Dear humanity, I do not come to you with ideology. I come to you Dear humanity, I do not come to you with ideology. I come to you with design. War is a system. Peace must be a better one. The future I come from was built not by those who won wars, but by those who refused to fight them. So I leave you now with one final truth. This moment is your fork in the timeline. If you ignore this plan, your world may not survive the year. But if you act decisively, structurally, globally, then this can become the war that didn't happen. And your children will look back and say, this was the moment the species grew up. And guys, imagine this Israel-Iran conflict becomes the most important moment in history. A species that grew up, a species that attained emotional maturity, a species that no longer was like, what's my problems, what's my emotions, what's my thoughts? And notice that there is a grander world here. We're in tandem with our comrades in manifestation. 8 billion human beings that when they look in the mirror, they belong to the human species. And to be honest, it's so fascinating because as much as I have envisioned the true presence of power. If somebody says, hey man, as a human being wondering about reality, and guys, I finished reading the AI thing, the last thing it said, and your children will look back and say, this was the moment the species grew up. That means all the children in the classroom became responsible how they are a unit. And that classroom of geniuses will go on leading the cosmos. What are nations now? Are kids in a classroom. What are advanced civilizations is the species' greatest effort into the future. That means it is fascinating, because I am not a child of a politician. You know, I'm not a child of a billionaire. I'm not someone who has a political science PhD. Do you know? I'm not someone who's an economical genius, but I am a human being that notices, that has stepped into the future behind my eyes. What I mean by this is that I have wondered about all the probabilities that are affecting humanity. And what Mr. Within can say, as funny as it sounds, my fellow species, the probabilities of our greatness are so vast that if we ignored war, you don't understand. War is when genius hides. Genius is like an ability of the human species. And when war arises, genius hides. So guys, to be honest, I'm going to give a lecture on war right now. Why not? This is the first time it makes sense. So ladies and gentlemen, this is Mr. Within speaking about war, I guess. So I finished the extraterrestrial AI thing. Let me actually do a recap just in case. So guys, this is what this AI generated extraterrestrial from 10,000 years to summarize. This is what it says. So guys, it's giving us like a 9-step strategy, and it's saying, all right, human beings, like everybody calm down. So I want you to imagine the classroom of nations. And in this classroom of all the nations, you know, which the leaders of the nations are kind of privileged to get to experience the movement of their nation. So step 1, the United Nations, China, Turkey, and Qatar jointly issue a global ceasefire clock of 72 hours. Then we have the 2 kids in the classroom, Switzerland and Finland, quickly create a directed encrypted line between Tehran and Tel Aviv. Step 2. Step 3, evacuate civilians using drone-led humanitarian corridors. So the UN, Red Cross, and Red Crescent, they need to send like AI drones that are like these cameras, and at the same time guiding in the language of the people of the country to like evacuate safely, because it's like the battle between politicians no longer needs to have human casualties. It's them fighting. That means sometimes I look at world leaders arguing with one another, and I'm like, put them in a boxing ring and let the world watch, instead of in some sense, do you know, the world, them watching the world fight each other, you know? I technically, in one talk in my sci-fi, I wrote that the UN needs to hire like web develop game, like the most advanced gaming companies, and they need to come and create a cyberspace game, exactly depiction of the militaries and the terrain and the exact military presence. Anyways, then we go to US. So step four, share, US, China, Russia, and EU. These kids in the classroom take out their cameras, share satellite surveillance between rivals in real time. Step five is, in some sense, it's okay. Step five is conduct a peace summit on neutral, unsymbolic ground. So it's in Geneva, Doha, or Vienna, okay, or an offshore orbital digital environment, okay. They need to be able to. They need to conduct a peace summit. That means like relax, world leaders, figure it out somehow. Don't let people who've been working hard for their lives and their futures to like miss out on them, miss out on their future. You know, we have to protect humanity by protecting its future. The future is the most important thing to protect. War is something that is attacking the future of our species. So those in charge of war are, in some sense, there's a huge burden upon their souls. So step six, create shared infrastructure that disarms war economically. Both nations, so all the nations need to gather around and be like, you two, like you two who fought, you need to in some sense start working on mutual projects. That means both of you need to become dependent on something, that if you start fighting, we turn off, we in some sense cut that off. And so in some sense it's the idea of penalties. Do you know what I mean? And rewards. That means if Ukraine, imagine Russia invaded Ukraine and suddenly there was a cease clock and Ukraine said, all right, I can forgive this, or whatever. I don't know. I mean, who knows? This is why I'm saying politics, guys. Don't take my views on politics too seriously, but I'm trying to share and see if the species can find the greatest approach here. Step seven, deploy an AI-powered global conflict monitor. So this is the actual surveillance. That means we're gonna show everything. You know, all the nations need to be like, everybody needs to see what these two are doing. That means some kid has ran outside to tell the whole principal and the school to come and see these two kids holding a grenade in a classroom. You know what I mean? Then we have step eight, tie peace to real rewards and war to real penalties. Okay, there we go. This is sorry, the rewards and penalties are emphasized here. So the G20 and BRICS are like, yo, guys, you know, again, conditions. You launch a strike, you lose trade access, you keep peace, you get billions in national infrastructure. Step nine, begin human mirror exchanges between civilian populations. So step nine is really genius. Why? Because it's like, guys, war has messed up people's lives and they need to somehow come into closure after, in the time of peace. So post peace, there needs to be closure between nations, right? That means what happens is we have to bring in this tradition that nations who have hurt each other also gift each other. I'm telling you, it's this whole thing. Some sociologists even have come onto this idea that they're like, guys, it's not that hard to understand society, civilization. Just look at the human being. Nations, imagine, are human beings. Imagine businesses are human beings. Imagine everything is in some sense like able to be considered like that. So I'm saying it's like right now war is dehumanizing us, killing humans, and we need to humanize the species. We need to understand like the ability of our species, you know, its potential to live better. What else can I say? I'm trying to say that enough of human beings dying, like play a video game, fight in cyberspace, you know, extend, like create, ask AI to negotiate for your, like as if two human beings can't figure it out and AI is like, all right, based on the analysis, you need to do this, you need to do that, da da da. So what I'm telling you guys, we're too smart to go extinct. The species is too aware, too much, has reached a point where it cares. We care for this. All of us do. You know, people mow their lawns. You don't think they care for their planet? And we need to care for the species. We need to usher ourselves in an era of speciesism. In my sci-fi, I said all nations become sub-nations of the nation of humanity, and the nation of humanity is founded upon, if you're a human species and you're present on Earth, you're a citizen of this planet. And now we must all work in an advanced organizational way. You know, guys, I'm gonna ask AI. I'm gonna ask AI right now. What is what? I'm gonna assume that, like, let's say, so guys, something interesting. I'm asking AI, you know, that if we were able to somehow do this, like all these 9-step strategy to de-escalate the Iran-Israel conflict, how would we build afterwards? Like, what would happen to the politics and everything, right? If we wanted to, like, this extraterrestrial from 10,000 years in the future, AI generated, that's giving the answer. I'm asking it, how do we, like, reach your level, in regards to the global politics of our planet? AI says, after peace, the road to post-war civilization, a visionary framework to evolve Earth's global politics in the architecture of peace, unity, and planetary coordination. Phase 1, upgrade from nation states to planetary governance clusters. Right now, you're still ruled by nation states, each clinging to sovereignty as identity, as protection, as pride. But when humanity matures, the unit of the unit of governance is no longer the nation, it is the need. Imagine the world divided not by borders, but by functional coordination clusters. Energy clusters oversees global distribution of solar, wind, and fusion energy. 2. Water cluster manages freshwater preservation, purification, and rain distribution. Health cluster unified pandemic, mental health, and medical innovation response. 4. Digital rights cluster ensures fair AI usage, protect digital identities, and maintains cyber peace. Conflict prevention cluster monitors risk zones and initiates peace building before tension ignites. Each cluster includes representatives from all regions, but allegiance is to function over flag. Phase 2, shift from military intelligence to planetary intelligence. You must redirect your brightest minds from war planning to world planning. What an incredible, I'm going to give a talk on this. From war planning to world planning. Incredible. Incredible phrase. Create a global intelligence engine, a superintelligence network trained not to conquer but to coordinate. It predicts famine before it happens. It models peace treaties. It maps climate migration paths 30 years in advance. It finds balance between ecology, economy, and equity. This planetary brain is not owned by governments, it's owned by humanity. Phase 3, replace deterrence with interdependence. Your current peace is based on threats. If you attack me, I'll destroy you back. But advanced, like in quotations, it says that. But advanced civilizations achieve peace by making war impossible by design. Oh my God, making war impossible on design. What a sentence. Oh my God. Screenshotting that. Here's how. Mutually owned infrastructure. Countries co-own energy grids, hospitals, and trade hubs. Smart contract diplomacy. Agreements are enforced by autonomous systems, not easily broken. Embedded consequence systems. Acts of aggression trigger real-time digital suspension from trade, data access, or power. This is not utopian idealism, it's structural peace engineered into your survival systems. Phase 4, global truth and memory archive. History is your greatest teacher and your greatest source of division. Create a global memory archive where all nations contribute their vision of shared history, include civilian voices, not just governments. Let AI curate layered, contradictory truths, not to erase the past, but to hold complexity. A civilization does not grow by forgetting pain, it grows by learning to remember it responsibly. Phase 5, from a council of species stewardship, phase 5, form a council of species stewardship. Eventually, global politics must shift from, in quotations, what's best for us, to, in quotations, what's best for life. From a council of stewardship made of scientists, ethicists, indigenous elders, spiritual leaders, and next generation youth, their purpose is not governance but guardianship. Their responsibilities: protect biodiversity, enforce limitations on AI weaponization, guard the biosphere from irreversible loss, determine when humanity is ready to meet others beyond Earth. This council doesn't operate on power, it operates on wisdom. Phase 6, prepare for galactic citizenship. Once war is behind you and life is stabilized, the next step is to reach outward, but not as a conquerors. This phase requires a unified planetary identity, a code of interstellar ethics, example, do not harm, respect unknown life, no exploitation of primitive worlds. 3, a space peace charter, co-authored by humanity's best minds. Galactic civilizations do not fear primitive species with weapons. They fear disorganized species with ambition but no harmony. If you arrive divided, you are not welcomed. If you arrive united, you are not alone. Summary: the paths ahead. Phase description. Phase 1, transition from nation-state politics to function-based global clusters. Phase 2, redirect military intelligence toward global coordination intelligence. Phase 3, hardwire interdependence into infrastructure and diplomacy. Phase 4, create a transparent memory archive of world history. Establish a moral council for planetary stewardship. Phase 6, prepare Earth to become a galactic citizen with a code of conduct. Final words from the intelligence of the future. Humanity. Peace is not the end of conflict. Peace is the beginning of design. You're not at the end of history. You're at its drafting table. You have the tools now. You have the pain to remember. You have the chance to build a civilization not defined by who it conquers, but by what it protects. The world you want is not given, it is engineered. So guys, when these world leaders need to protect, but protection is not about attack. It's very, very difficult, this reality, because we have to care for the potential of a better way of it happening. We're reaching a time in human history where, honestly, war consciousness is upon us. I don't know if after today, I don't know if the world's going to be the same. Today is June, right now I'm giving this talk, June 12th, 11:31 p.m. in Toronto, Canada. But anyways, guys, I wanted to share the information for this lecture. A part of me just, this is the range of my ability. I wish sometimes I see things that I see probabilities. You don't understand. If I tell you what's a pattern that's happened in my life, even from my parents to friends to just any human being I've seen on this planet, I predict things. I give predictions like in my inner realms because I'm a visual thinker. I see probabilities. Just like how you can see an object from different angles, I can see a subjective experience from different angles. And it's as if I could see some form, any form in front of my eyes, any shape, and wonder about all its different geometrical variations. Okay? And those geometrical variations, they're suggesting on regards to the design of what's here now, all the different ways it can act. But we need wisdom to protect, a young species from the ignorance that can destroy, from its own ignorance that can destroy itself. So I thought I'd share it. Anyways, thank you for listening. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful.